Hey y'all, it's me, Brianka J, and I'm back with another video. Cause what? It's Black History Month, and what? I'm showing up as many days as possible, considering life, work, or obligations, responsibilities, and just outright exhaustion. But outside of that, I'm gonna be here every day. Period. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, stick around, make the channel grow. We did hit our follow goal, guys. You have to get like 1,000 followers to ever get paid on YouTube. I think we are at like 1,200. Thank you so much. But YouTube never makes it that easy. So now I need 3,000 watch hours, which motivates me to show up as much as possible. And you know what else motivates me to show up? You. When you like, when you comment, when you hit that subscribe button, when you share, it really motivates me to show up and show out and make sure that I'm bringing you the content you love. Today, I actually was looking at the algorithm and I saw like you guys are really into the Gilded Six-Bits by Zora Neale Hurston. So that's what we're talking about today. So stay tuned. So the Gilded la, la, la. So the Gilded Six-Bits by Zora Neale Hurston is a short story that explores themes like love, infidelity, the impact of societal expectations, and just personal relationships. So I wanted to think about some thematic questions we can consider since we've read the story. Let's discuss the story. And first things first, let's dig right in the love and the betrayal. So, of course, we're introduced to this beautiful couple who is deeply, deeply in love. It's Missy May and Joe. They're newlyweds. And we want to think about how the theme is love portrayed in the story, especially because we do see a transformation throughout. And I think that it shows that it's easy to be in love or to consider it love, infatuation, maybe lust, just getting caught up in the newness of something, like they were newlyweds. And so we see them really smitten with each other. Neither party can do no wrong in each other's eyes. But then when the relationship is tested is when we start to understand what is love, right? Like relationships do get tested. They do find themselves experiencing more than one can chew. You know, people get sick. People struggle with addictions. People, and in this case, people, fall into temptation and infidelity. And I think that's when we have to decide, do I really love this person? Can I stick with this person through thick and thin? So easy to stick with someone when they're doing good and they're looking good and they telling you you're amazing and they stroking your ego. But you know when there is true love, when you fall short and you're not perfect and you show your more human side. Does that person still love you? Can that person still show up for you? Can that person still find kindness in them, forgiveness in them? Can they offer you redemption? And I think that in a lot of ways, Zora Neale Hurston explores those ideas really well because, we got Missy, May, and Joe, and they're deeply in love, and everybody's like, y'all don't know nothing about love, like, right? Like, you guys, y'all don't know nothing about love, right? Because your love hasn't been tested. And so them being able to overcome the situation of infidelity does something to kind of strengthen their foundation in the end, right? Like, not only are we able to love each other when the sun is shining and the birds are singing, we can love each other in the midst of our humanity. We can love each other when we fall short. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's so important. It's so easy to hold people to these expectations of perfection. Even though we're not perfect, we hold our partners to these really high expectations, and they are bound to fall short. And when they do, where do our feelings go? And if they go away, is it love? I don't know. But I think that Zora Neale Hurston explores this in such a wonderful and beautiful way. She really does a great job with this. Another question that comes up is, in what ways does the revelation of infidelity impact the characters and their relationships? When I say, when Joe catches Missy May in that room with that man, take me out. I was scared. The man was scared. Then he was like, look, don't kill me, man. You can have all the money in my pocket. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Okay, because you know you don't have no business in my house with my wife. And Missy May gonna be scared, which I didn't understand why. Don't be scared now. Don't be scared now. Don't be scared now. But I do understand being absolutely terrified of a grown man standing in front of you when you know damn well you are dead wrong. And poor Joe, because he's heartbroken. Joe can't even fight that man. Joe can't even bring himself to really tear that man into fucking pieces because he is heartbroken. And after that, I think that he stays broken for quite some time. He isn't able to immediately move back to, I'm super in love with Missy May, which is understandable. And I think that's important. I think so many times people try to rush themselves, especially after something like an infidelity, right? They try to rush themselves into repair, and you need to forgive me. And it's like, people need time. Forgiveness can happen, but everybody deserves time to mourn, to consider, to think, to rebuild, to reestablish their own, self-esteem, and then try to work with their person. And I think that the impact on that relationship was so heavy. Like, it really showed a lot. It showed how committed Missy May was. She didn't stop being a wife. She kept cooking and cleaning. He wasn't coming home. She had to bite her lip and be quiet because she knew she had made an incredible mistake. Joe, he would go see her. He would still allow her to be a wife in small ways, but he was hurt. And he took his time in the rebuild, and as he should. I think that his mother eventually kind of came around and was like, you know what, Missy May ain't so... His mother, it was so interesting because the mother hated Missy May at first. The mother hated Missy May because she just didn't know if she had the chops to really be a wife. And she didn't get her mother-in-law's respect until after their relationship had been tested. They had been being watched because I think the people in the community kind of know, like, being a newlywed is a cakewalk. But hard times are coming. And your marriage isn't going to be defined on your ability to go on vacation and smile for the camera. Your marriage is going to be defined on your ability to stick together when times are hard, and to have each other's back and stay committed and stay in it when it's really thick and uncomfortable. And I think in that way, when we look at the love and betrayal and the infidelity and how it impacts the characters, I think they mature from this experience. Unfortunately, it's a terrible way to mature. Don't think I'm ever saying like, oh, test your partner. No, but I'm saying life brings you tests, and it's how we interact with those tests that define who we are. And I think that their relationship matured from newlyweds to a married couple working together. And I think that when they chose to say, hey, we had someone infiltrated this house, but we're sticking together, we're a unit, I think that spoke volumes to not only their relationship, but the people around them had to be like, oh, they have what it takes to rock out and make this work. We're gonna, respect it, and we're gonna cheer for it. That's not the only theme that comes up in this story, though, right? Like, there are other themes. Like, there are economic there are cultural and economic influences here as well. So let's talk about that. Let's discuss it. Let's get into it. Let's break it down. How do economic circumstances and societal expectations affect the characters' lives and choices? So what was really interesting to me when the story started was Joe coming home and telling Missy May, like, oh man, you gotta see the new man in town. He's a big guy. He's a big guy. He wear his clothes so fitted. He got these gold coins. Like, this man is beloved all over the land. And Missy May, you know, she's a housewife and she loves her husband, and she's just kind of confused. Like, okay, you a big man to me. I like the way you wear your clothes. And you might not have all the gilded coins in the world, but every Saturday, I can count on you dropping them coins in my back door, period. So Missy May is, initially we see Missy May absolutely happy with her marriage, with her husband, with the money they have, and she's not pushed by those circumstances of society. But she's also not outside every day. Joe is outside every day. So Joe is the one who is comparing himself. And we struggle with this ourselves, right? We get on the internet and we compare ourselves to people who are posting content and buying expensive lights and cameras and mics and all this stuff. And we decide that we're not good enough because of their ability to create an illusion for us on the internet. And that's wrong, and ultimately it does tend to have negative effects. In this case, I think that Joe is comparing himself so much to this man that even when I read it the first time, especially the second time, I was like, Joe, like, it's almost like you're pushing Missy May into this man's arms. You know, it's almost like you are comparing yourself and insinuating that he's a better man than you. And it was very weird. I mean, I understood like why he felt the way he felt, but it was just like a very weird conversation to be having with your wife, especially since I knew what was going to happen next. I was like, why is he positioning this man as if this man is bigger and greater than him? Well, it's the societal pressures, right? He is comparing himself, he's measuring himself, and he doesn't feel so good. But what he does say is, like, I got Missy May though, and Missy May, well, you know, beyond what that man has, Missy May is mine. And he brings Missy May into the community because he wants to show off his prized possession. Like, you might have nice clothes, a fancy car, you know, some gold coins, but you don't have the type of wife I have. You don't have the beautiful woman that I have walking on my arm. And he brings her outside. And I'm not to say that men should never show off their wives, because absolutely, you love her, she loves you, you should. But in this case, it is the Pandora's box, because then this man is able to look at Missy May and start to make his moves on Missy May and to start to try to insert his ideas in Missy May's mind. And that's really unfortunate, you know. So I think that because of, and then he uses money to do it. This guy uses his money and these gold coins. That's all it's ever about. It's called the Gilded Six-Bits. This man has these gold coins in his hand. And he even uses those to kind of pressure Missy May. Like, hey, if you give me a moment of your time, I'll give you these coins. And she knows how much Joe is impressed with these coins. Now, what her plan was, how she was going to tell Joe she got them, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how she was going to navigate that. But she does sleep with him. And I think that the money that he promises her is a part of it. And I think that the way that Joe kind of positions him as a great big man also lends to her poor decision making. Unfortunately, it's really sad. I really hate that. I just think that's so sad. But I'm also thinking about them being young, newlyweds, and the time it was. Them people might have been 17 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all, they used to get married young back in the day. A 15-year-old bride wasn't no big thing. So the next question is, what role does the economic setting play in shaping the dynamics of the story? I think that money plays a big role. When we first meet Joe, he's throwing money in the back door to impress his wife. He uses money to impress his wife, you know, and that is what it is. He uses the money to impress his wife. And so when he starts talking about, you know, Joe having more money then that makes it very interesting. Very interesting. Joe has more money, so he's able to say, well, like, I mean, not the other man has more money than Joe, and Joe is a little bit like, wow, he has more money, he has these gold coins, you know what I'm saying? And then that same man promises those gold coins to Missy May. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to think of Missy May as someone who is only moved by money. I can't say that, because I think that in our society, especially right now, the idea of gift giving or a woman wanting to be provided for is so like tongue-in-cheek. But I think that in this story, I think Joe was trying to be a provider for his wife, and he gave her the money. And there was definitely a time in history where men would go to work, pass the money to their wife, and their wife would then go ahead and pay the bills and make sure there was food and sustenance on the table, and that was their way of life. So I don't know if it's really this idea of she was being a gold digger, or he just was impressing his wife on his ability to handle his husbandly duties, which is to provide. The question is open, you guys. I'm gonna leave these questions in the comments too, because I do want to hear like how you think of it, and like what do you think was going on? What do you think was the thought process for these people? Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna do one more theme. There is a lot to talk about here, but the video, I don't want it to get too long. But so let's just talk about one more thing. Let's talk about how the traditional gender roles are depicted in the story. I think they are just what they are, right? We got the stay-at-home wife, Missy May. We got Joe going out to get the money. He brings it home. She makes a meal. She cooks. She washes his clothes. She rubs his back. She does everything a traditional wife should do. He does everything a husband should do. They are very much in traditional gender roles. Like, they don't really push in and out of those roles. And then the only way I see that Missy May resist her role is when she goes after this man to get these gilded coins. I think in that way, it was a resistance, because what did you need the money for? If Joe was bringing the money and your only job was to take and manage this money, were you hoping to get those coins in order to give to Joe so y'all have more? Or what were you going to do? Were you going to store them? I didn't understand why she needed the money, or why she was moved by this man's promises. It still leaves a question in my mind. I'm still not sure. Now, I said it was my last question, but we're going to have to probably come back for a second half of this video, because I do have so much more to talk about. So I'm going to go into, at least get to the halfway mark of this, all right? So let's talk about the symbols and imagery. What is the significance of the gilded silver dollar in the story? Baby, I was so tickled when Joe showed her that money was not even real, and he had just painted some gold on them damn coins. Baby, because you were about to give up you risked everything you had. You have love, you have affection, you're provided for, and you were going to lose your husband and lose your station in life and lose your comfort and the love of your life based on a pot of what do they call it when they say a pot of pottage? Like spoiled, it's nothing. This man tricked you out of your sexuality, your intimacy, your devotion, and your loyalty to your husband, and you got nothing in return. You risked your entire life, and I think that is a message. Don't be so impressed with your neighbor. Don't be so impressed with what you see online. Don't be so impressed with the things that you don't have, because you don't understand what it is anyway. You don't know if it's real. And so sometimes I think that's the part of the story that's really significant to me, because you are questioning your life not realizing that that man wants your life more than he wants his. He's faking his life, and you might not have a lot, but everything you had was real. So I think that was incredibly interesting. And forgiveness is explored in the story as well. How? Sorry, let me before I go there. How does the imagery of the 6-bit contribute to the overall thematic elements? I think I answered that one already. So we're gonna move on. The last thing I'm going to talk about, and I'm really going to close this because we're already at 19 minutes. I don't want to keep you guys here too long. We all got stuff to do. Do the characters experience redemption after the revelation of betrayal? Absolutely. We definitely see Missy May and Joe experience redemption. They have their first child. They're making shoes for feet, as they like to say, and the baby comes and the baby looks just like Joe, and though their marriage isn't the same, I think it has the potential to grow stronger as Missy May continues to show her devotion to her husband, and as her husband continues to practice forgiveness. I think that those are two really both of them are in very difficult positions. I know a lot of men or a lot of people in general are going to say like Joe was a saint, you know what I'm saying? But I think they're both in very difficult positions because it's very hard to stay devoted and loyal to somebody who is outwardly showing you that they're very upset with you. They're not able to forgive you just yet. And I think it's hard to forgive somebody who has done something to you that they promised to never do, and have shown you a part of them that you didn't think you would ever see. So I think they're very much both struggling here, and I do think that they are seeing, we see them start reaching a chance of redemption, and by the end of the story I do have hope for their relationship, and I see them taking it the distance. I think that the theme of forgiveness is explored deeply here. It really is explored in a deeper way that I've seen it explored in other works. I think it's so many of us pride ourselves on saying I'm leaving, I'm not dealing with that, and a lot of it, if you look around with the gender war podcast of today, a lot of us are struggling and single and uncomfortable and still screaming how I'm not dealing with this, I'm not dealing with that, I'm a prize, I'm the catch, I'm high value, and not understanding that love is a compromise. And if we don't start understanding life in that way, then I think that we're going to be doomed. And so I do think that though I am against infidelity in itself, I do think that all relationships are going to be tested in a number of ways, and we're going to have to, if we want relationships that last and stand the test of time and can meet those 25-year, 30-year marks with our partner, it's going to be an obligation for both of us to learn to forgive and how to be forgiven. I think that we see Missy May practicing atonement here. She's still catering to her husband and being a wife, even though he left the house, even though he ain't staying with her every night, even though he don't have time, he's not answering her questions, he's not giving her validation. She still is committed to her role as a wife. And I think that that's hard. A lot of people don't want to take accountability and atone for their mistakes the way Missy May does. So in the end of the work, I think both parties do show us how to forgive and be forgiven, and I think that is incredibly thought out and thoughtfully portrayed in the work. We see the redemption, we see the growth, we see the maturity of the characters, and we see a couple go from newlywed to truly married. And I would love to get a follow-up on Missy May and Joe and see how they doing and how the baby doing. It would be great. But overall, I think Zora Neale Hurston really came up with something great, and I love that so many people are reading it, and it's trending on my channel again. It makes me so happy because I am a big fan of Miss Hurston. But tell me what you think. I'm going to drop the questions that I covered here in the comment section. Feel free to pick one, answer it, disagree with me. You know how we love to do, and just have a good time here. And I'll be back probably tomorrow. Let me know if you want the second half of this video where I go over the next next 5 themes, or if you're ready for me to move on. I have a ton of stuff promised for this month, so don't miss a thing. Comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow.